Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all in good health. Well, um, before we start our sessions, okay, let me just, can you switch on your camera for a while and let us see your faces, who's with us, if you are ready to share your camera. Can we have that? Yeah. And say hi to Prof. Lin. Okay, I can see your
Hello.
names.
Hello.
Okay. If you're ready to share your camera, please do. Okay. While I'm giving the introductions for this session. Well, it's fine. I hope you can share your camera, but please kindly mute your microphone. And for this session, if you have any questions and or response during the discussions, please feel free to drop the comments and your response in the chat box. Okay, and to ensure the smooth running of our discussion today, we will have the verbal Q&A sessions with our guest speaker at the end of the session. And so, before I introduce our guest today, please allow me to tell you about the purpose of this session. Global Learning session is actually aimed to enhance students' learning experience, and it is a personalized session where students are given the opportunity to engage with invited speakers from all over the world. Yeah. And Global Learning is also one of the initiatives for innovative delivery highlighted in Education 5.0 at UiTM. This session is a collaboration between Akademi Pengajian Bahasa and the CG of Global Learning, Center of Innovative Delivery and Learning Development, the CIDL. Here, second slide here, we are with the agenda. So today, let's have a look at our agenda. We will look at the map of Scotland. Oh, no, sorry. We'll go straight to the speaker, our guest speaker today. And then she's going to introduce to us about Scotland and about the Heriot-Watt University, followed by discussions and then a Q&A sessions. For the Q&A, you can switch on your mic, right? Okay. So now the next session. Oh yeah, about the speaker. Here it is, Prof. Lin. Prof. Lin Jack. She is a professor of building services engineering, and up until just a few weeks ago, she was director of research at Heriot-Watt University's Malaysia campus. She is now based back in the UK and working from the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society at Heriot-Watt's Edinburgh campus. Her teaching background is in the field of building services engineering and architectural engineering, and her research focuses on modeling the flow characteristics in vertical drainage stacks, on the performance of building roof drainage systems, and on the impact of new network design procedures of the integrations of water efficiency measures. I am totally impressed. Really, that's not my field, not our field, okay, Prof. And I really look forward to have this sharing session with you. So in 2015, Prof. Lin was nominated to the role of chair of the Scientific Committee of the CIB W62 Working Group, an international research organization addressing water supply and drainage for buildings. Prof. Lin is a chartered engineer, a fellow of the Chartered Institutions of Building Services Engineers, a fellow of the Society of Public Health Engineers, a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Yeah, and she was also the CIBSE president from 2019 to 2020, the institution's first ever female president. Okay, so here I'd like to welcome you, Prof. Lin, who's going to conduct the sessions. And yeah, without further delay, please, Prof. Lin.
Thank you very much, Madam Susanna. That's really a big introduction. I sometimes I don't recognise myself in this introduction, but thank you. This is very, very kind. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure and a real honour to be here joining you from Scotland, from the UK. I was delighted to receive the invitation to speak to you today. It's as Madam Susanna said, only a few weeks actually since I left my job in Malaysia, although I have been back in the UK for a few months since the MCO. So I thank you for the time. I'm really privileged to be able to speak to you this afternoon. And what I'd like to do is I would like to give you some detail about Scotland and the UK and culture, and also to speak to you about international communication. By way of background, my time in Malaysia, I was just under 3 years full-time based in Putrajaya. I was previously with Heriot-Watt and now back with Heriot-Watt. So all that time staying as an employee with Heriot-Watt University, but moving from the UK to Malaysia and then back to the UK. So I have to tell you, I am not an expert on communication. I am an expert on being Scottish. But I do have that, I can share with you the experience of communicating internationally. I was only one of 2 Scottish people on the Malaysia campus, myself and only one other colleague, even although we are a Scottish university. But the communication is really vital to making sure that the professionalism, the job and the success of the university is achieved. So I'm happy to share with you my experiences both talking about Scotland and culture and also very importantly on international communication. So thank you, Madam Susanna, for the introduction, very kind, thank you. So can we move to the next slide? Lovely, okay. So I'm guessing as students in the class, you will be familiar with this map. We have here a map of the UK. You can see here Scotland is in the north, so I will show you some photographs soon, but being in the north, it does mean that the weather is colder. If you have ever travelled to UK or you know anybody who has and if they have been to Scotland, most people go to London. Maybe somebody, I think, Nadia, if you have the pointer, you can maybe highlight the cities as we go through, but London very much in the south of England. So England is shown in green here, London in the south. Many Malaysians I know have travelled to London and will understand the culture, but Scotland is in the north, so the part in yellow. And my university, Heriot-Watt University, is based in Edinburgh. So I think in the next slide we have the Scottish map. So we'll move to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so here we have the map of Scotland. You might know already from your class or perhaps from somewhere else, but we have what we refer to in the UK as devolved nations. So we do have a separate parliament and we are governed by a separate government, although we also are governed by the UK government, the Westminster government. We have separate aspects of the economy and education and the health service as well. So we do have relative autonomy within Scotland. And we were just discussing earlier today, we of course have Brexit looming, so very soon we will all, as the UK, we will leave Europe. And that will, I think, create a very different dynamic in 2021 and moving forward as well. So as Scotland, we are a separate country, and you can see here the red dot, which is highlighted, showing where Edinburgh. Many people don't know, actually, Edinburgh is on the coast. When you visit and when you travel around the city centre, you don't necessarily notice that we're on the coast, but we are actually a coastal city. So I think next slide. Yeah, one again. Okay, so here are some photographs. As I said, we are quite far north in the UK, so the weather does not always look quite as nice as it does on the photographs here. But really what you are seeing are some photographs of the city centre. You can see here in the top left photograph, the one at night, and in the top left of that one, you can actually see the castle. And I don't know if you know, but Edinburgh is based, the city of Edinburgh is based around a castle, a very old castle. And that castle sits on top of an extinct volcano. So it's why it's so high. I don't think you quite see the extinct volcano from here, but you can certainly see the castle. It's a very historic city, very, very old city. And as you look across the other photographs, you can see some of the nice views, very green, also like Malaysia, very, very green. So next slide. Yeah, so we've had a look at Edinburgh. It's worth highlighting actually that in terms of culture, what you see in the red circle here is what I've tried to highlight is what we would refer to as the central belt in Scotland. And that's really where most of the population would reside and where most of the, certainly most of the commerce, if not the industry as well, is located. So if I give you some detail on population, the overall population of Scotland is somewhere around 5.5 million, but the population of Edinburgh is only 500,000. If we look at Glasgow, which is on the west coast, so it's another major city, not the capital, but it's a major city. The population of the city centre is around 600,000, but it's a very, very big city, a bit like KL, has lots of, the wider region is very big, and so that wider region has a population of around 1 million. So you can see then that the majority of the Scottish population will be residing within that central belt. It's very well connected by the transport infrastructure. It's very easy to move between the cities. You can actually travel between the two cities in 1 hour driving. So as I say, lots of commerce, lots of industry, lots of easy transport, and the main airports are in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So if you do visit, chances are that you will arrive in one of those two cities. So next slide. Okay, so let me tell you a bit about Heriot-Watt University. So top left photo is actually our Edinburgh campus. This is our base. We're established in 1821. So if you do some quick mathematics, you can tell that we are approaching our 200-year anniversary. So we have some celebrations planned next year. And of course, those involve Malaysia. So in the UK, we don't have photos here, but in the UK, we have 3 campus locations. Edinburgh is our main one. We have another campus location in the Borders region, so very close to England. And we have a very small campus in the north in the islands in Orkney. So we have 3 campuses in the UK. We also have 2 campuses internationally. So top right is our Dubai campus. Now, the photo you see here is just about to be outdated because we're in the process of moving campus. This one is actually quite far out from the centre of Dubai, very, very close to, or actually in the desert. But we're actually moving to a new location right in the middle of Dubai city, actually. So next time I speak to you, hopefully we can show you different photographs. And then if I can jump to the bottom right photo, not necessarily the best one for you to see the image, I have another one later, but this is our Malaysia campus, bottom right. Yes. So this is in Putrajaya. I'm hoping some of you will at least know the site, if not the building. If you know Putrajaya, then the campus sits at the very bottom of the lake. Right next to the PICC, the Convention Centre, between PICC and the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Education. So really, really nice central location. If we look at the bottom left photo though, which is clearly a map of the world, and you can see green dots on this, Heriot-Watt is a very, very international university. So in 2018, we were nominated by the Times and Sunday Times Good University Guide as the University of the Year. And hopefully that will give you an indication of how international we are. We have around, in total, we have around 32,000 students. Of those 32,000 students, only around 9 or 10,000 are in the UK. We have around 4,000 in Dubai. We have around 2,000 in Malaysia. And then the remainder are actually scattered all around the world. So all of these green dots that you see on the map represent locations where we have a base. Sometimes that's an online delivery, sometimes it's a centre, sometimes it's a learning partner. So we have very, very many students who are scattered around the world. And actually, when you speak to them, they have a very international mindset. We have a huge community of Heriot-Watt graduates, and actually it's one of the things that I love about Heriot-Watt is that we are so international. So as a reminder, somewhere around 32,000 students, but less than 10,000 students in Edinburgh, so very, very international.
Professor Lin, if I may add, I think I remember reading an article about Heriot-Watt winning the Internationalization Award or something a few years ago, and it's been because of the internationalization that happened. I think, was it Times Higher Education? I can't remember which, I read it somewhere that they won this award. It's a,
University of the Year 2018, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so why are we in Malaysia? You might be asking. So I think very much supported. This is an old photograph, I should tell you as well. So this photograph came from probably 2012 or 13 when we opened. Very, very new to Putrajaya at that time. And my understanding is that there was an invitation for universities to join Malaysia as an education community. And obviously Heriot-Watt, we submitted a proposal to that. Now that was part of our then international strategy. We wanted to extend our international footprint. So we were very keen to be in Malaysia. We already had the Dubai campus at the time, so we did have some experience of being international. And the invitation to join Malaysia was one that we were very keen to take up. So we were very keen to join you. We did, of course, win. And were able to form that new international campus. So we were selected in 2011. The building was built, I think, 2012, and we started teaching in 2013. And I would invite you actually, if you have some time off for the weekend, and of course, travel restrictions permitting because of the CMCO. But if you do have a chance, please go and walk around the Putrajaya Lake, have a look at the campus. It really is a beautiful, beautiful site, a wonderful location. Very easy to walk and cycle around, and the view from the offices across the lake and across Putrajaya really, really stunning actually. So I'm so glad that we were able to win that competition, build the campus, and to join you in Malaysia. Next slide. So something that's very important about the way that we operate, we have, and I'll run through these quickly, but we have the same, as a university, we have the same learning outcomes, the same academic standards, same quality assurance processes. And that's really, really important to us, because what that means is that as a student of the university, you will have the same education irrespective of the location that you are in. So whether you were in one of the 3 campuses in the UK, whether you were in Malaysia or whether you were in Dubai, you have the same classes. And actually, we have a shared teaching method whereby, let's say you are studying construction project management. That project management, the material and the class will be the same. It's delivered by a shared team. And of course, in these times of COVID, when everything is online, we join even more actually with our international community because we share the teaching together. So it's really, really important that we have that common delivery of the teaching across all of our campuses. You may be aware in the education sector that some universities have branch campuses. So they have the main university and then they have a branch campus somewhere international. We do not subscribe to that model. What we say is that we have an entirely equal delivery of our education provision in every single location. So we are one university, we are one global university, and we have the same standards and the same quality and the same practices. And what that really means then is that you have exactly the same learning experience, except it's in a different location. So we contextualize some of the material. You can look at examples in Malaysia, Dubai, and UK. And we share resources. We share library resources, we share books, we share our IT system. We have a common exam review structure. So when we look at the marks of students, we look at them all together, Dubai, Malaysia, and the UK together. And really where that leads us then, and this is really important, is we have the same degree. So when you have a Heriot-Watt degree, it never says Heriot-Watt Malaysia, Heriot-Watt Dubai, or Heriot-Watt UK. It simply says Heriot-Watt. And that means that you're in Malaysia, your degree is the same value as anywhere else. And that's really, really important to us. In a second, I will talk to you about the student mobility programme. But before we move on, you can see the very happy, smiley Malaysian students here in Malaysia, sorry, in UK. I have to say they do look quite cold. So they are wearing hats and scarves and big jackets, but they do look happy. So the top one you might recognise in the background the same photograph you saw earlier. So this is Malaysian students in Edinburgh at the campus building. And then the castle that we talked about, the one is on the extinct volcano in the city centre. This is the Malaysian students visiting the castle. So I like these photos. I think they really give you a sense of how happy the Malaysian students are to go and visit the UK, even if they are cold. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so just very quickly a word on our mobility programme. You can see here that the students, because you understand now that the degrees are the same, where we have the degrees that touch down in all of these locations in Edinburgh, Dubai and Malaysia, the students are actually invited to undertake a mobility programme where they can actually move between campuses. And I'm going to say seamlessly, because you can actually move semester, or you can move whole academic year, or in some cases you can move more than one academic year. So students can move between campuses. I have to tell you that I love seeing the Malaysia students on the Edinburgh campus, and I love seeing the UK students on the Malaysia campus. I don't visit Dubai quite so often. But when you see that international student body, and today we are talking about international communication, this is as important for our students as our staff, actually. And I just love to see the mix of cultures and nationalities on those campuses. It really is fantastic. So when you visit the Malaysia campus in normal times, not COVID, you will see many international students who are joining us on campus, and I think that creates something very, very special. We do tend to find that when students move from one campus to another, they don't want to go back. They don't want to go back to their home campus. They want to stay in the one they moved to. So many Malaysian students go to Edinburgh. I want to stay in Edinburgh. And the UK students go to Putrajaya. They don't want to go back to Scotland. They want to extend another year and stay in Malaysia. So I think that's wonderful. I think that speaks very highly to the mobility programme and the success of mixing those cultures. So I think the mix of cultures, the international experience and the communication, absolutely crucial and important for that success. So next slide. Okay, so just to give you a flavour of the international students on the Malaysia campus, we've listed here the top 5 nationalities. So we have UK, Indonesia, India, Pakistan and Syria. And you can see from the chart that we have 20% international students. And I think that again, that just speaks to the nice mix that we have on the campus. Again, once things are slightly more normal and we can travel, I would encourage you to go visit. It's a wonderful atmosphere, and but go when the students are there, because the dynamic and the energy is just fantastic. Okay, next slide. Okay, so some information on Scotland then. Let's come back to the UK. So again, you have on the top left a photograph of the castle. You can't quite see the volcano, but you can see that it's very, very high. You can also on the bottom right, I did want actually to show you, because there are so many things. Ms. Nadia asked me to highlight things that Scotland is famous for, and it was very difficult to choose. So the city is very famous, but at the bottom right, this photograph that's taken at night time, you can see the castle from inside. So this is what we call the esplanade. It's a big flat surface, and in August every year, we host a very, very international festival. It's called the Edinburgh Festival, now very, very famous globally. We welcome so many, I should have checked the numbers, but I'm not sure, but we welcome so many visitors internationally, normally, to the city in August. The city is just full. There is no accommodation, there is no space, the transport is full, but it has such a wonderful atmosphere. And what you see is in the photograph is what we call the military tattoo. So we also invite marching bands, exhibitions, displays. They come from all around the world, and every single evening through the festival, the tattoos event is held in the evening inside the grounds of the castle. And this runs from about 7:30, I think, round till 11 p.m. And at 11 p.m. the event finishes, and every single night there is fireworks at the end of this event. So when it's festival time, you always know you can hear the fireworks 11 p.m. Then you know this event is over. But it's a very special festival, very popular, very cultural. There are different components to it. Film festival, comedy festival, the tattoo, very many aspects. Drama. There are lots of things that you can do. So if you do choose to visit, it's a nice time to come. And I guess you might also know from your understanding of international aspects. We have long days in the summer, we have short days in the winter. So today is a very short day. We're almost at the middle of December, so the days are very short. It's dark until about 8:30, and then we see some daylight, but it gets dark again around 4:30. So the days are very short. But in the summer, the days are very long. So light probably around 4:30. And it stays light until almost 11 p.m. So you have that compromise of short days in winter, long days in summer, and the weather is not always quite so sunny, but it's nice to show you some nice sunny photographs. What I'm going to do now is the two remaining photographs that I have not talked about, I will ask you if you know. I would like you to speak to me actually. I will ask you if you know what these are. So the top right, as you can see, is a golf course, but I will ask you if you know which one. So if you can put into the chat, or if somebody is brave enough to unmute themselves and answer verbally, that would be fantastic. And then I'd also like to ask you if you know what the bottom left photograph is. You might struggle, but I can give you a hint. But let's start with the top right one. Would anybody be willing to make a guess as to the golf course that you can see on the top right photograph? I'm hoping somebody can make a guess. I think Ms. Nadia knows, actually. I think Ms. Nadia knows, but you cannot give the game. Let's see if the students can tell me. Can I see the chat? Nobody in the chat? No, does it? I wonder if this means nobody knows. Okay, let me tell you, this golf course is indeed beautiful, thank you. This is St Andrews Golf Course. Very famous golf course, not just in Scotland but international. So I think I am correct in saying that golf was invented, is that the word, in Scotland. So we have this very famous golf course, and most visitors internationally will want to go and play on this course. It's quite expensive, and it's really difficult to find a spot. Actually, it's so busy. You want to play there? Yes, I think most people. Oh yes, okay, well done. We have a correct guess. The bottom left is Loch Ness. Well done, congratulations, good. Okay, so let me ask you one more question then. Loch Ness is very famous for one particular thing. Let me see if we can have some answers in the chat on what's Loch Ness famous for. The monster, absolutely correct, well done. And do we believe this is true? Can we have a yes, no from anybody? Do we believe the monster exists? Yes, absolutely. If you're Scottish, you believe the monster exists. Yeah, very good, excellent. You do. Okay, I have to tell you, I do believe as well. Many people spend a long time looking in this Loch Ness, in this water in Loch Ness, looking for the monster. Many sightings, video footage, photograph, sonar data. I'm Scottish, I have to believe it exists. But even if you don't, if you have the chance to come, please do go and visit. It's a beautiful site. So yes, well done on the chat, well done. Indeed, Loch Ness and St Andrews Golf Course. So there are many things that we are famous for in Scotland, but this hopefully again will just give you a flavour. So now that you were talking to me, I want you to keep talking to me, and I'd like to test you again. So next slide if we can. These are people. Okay, so bit of a busy slide, What I'd like you to do, if you can, I'm not going to ask you to name these people. Even I could not name these people without some background homework. So I would ask you to have some guesses as to what they are famous for. So let's start. Oh, well done, Adam Smith, absolutely. Now, is it Amira? Can you tell me, Adam Smith, can you tell me which photograph? Can you identify? I think Ms. Nadia has the pointer, so I don't know if she will know. Okay, not sure. So let's go top left then. Okay, so we had one really well done. Actually, I'm super impressed. This is indeed top left is indeed Adam Smith. So Adam Smith was a very famous economist. They're all Scottish, by the way. So he was a very famous economist and philosopher. And actually, Heriot-Watt now owns, yes, there is somebody wearing a kilt. I will come to that in a second. So Adam Smith, a very, very famous philosopher. Heriot-Watt actually owns the house that Adam, so if you know Adam Smith, he wrote a very famous book called Wealth of Nations. He is widely known as the father of economics. He put into place many of the basic economic principles that we all work to today. But he owned, or he certainly wrote Wealth of Nations in a house in Edinburgh, and Heriot-Watt now owns this house, and we host many events there as well. So well done. I think it was Amira, you guessed Adam Smith. Excellent guess. Excellent knowledge. Very, very good. Okay, so let's go clockwise then. So this gentleman with the white beard with the blue background that Ms. Nadia is pointing to, Alexander Graham Bell, is absolutely correct, and he is famous for, or he is credited with, do we know? Telephone. Well done. Excellent. Yes. Okay. So I think many people claim to have invented the telephone, but he's certainly credited with patented. And I hope what you see here is a flavour of how innovative we are as Scottish people. We are very famous, lots of engineers, I have to say, but economists as well, but very innovative. So moving clockwise again, the gentleman with the lovely bow tie actually and the white lab coat. Do we know who this is? Bit more difficult, I think. While you're thinking, I will tell you that he grew up just a few miles from my home. I'm not so old that I knew him though, so no guesses? No, okay, so how about I tell you his name? This is Alexander Fleming. Let's see if that helps you guess what he's famous for.
I think it's the famous physician, the microbiologist, right?
Yeah, very, very good, very good. Yes, well done, well done. So Alexander Fleming is credited with discovering penicillin. So very, very influential in terms of medical and biology practices around the world. So as I say, he grew up just a few miles from where I am. But yeah, Alex, very, very famous for discovering penicillin. So let's keep going clockwise. Now, I think some of you might know this actually. I would be surprised if you did not. Top right.
Robert Burns.
Yes, well done, well done. Somebody knows their Scottish history, well done. And he's famous for?
I think it's a poet. I think I've heard of poet. He's a poet.
Yes,
poet.
Yeah, you're correct. You are correct. He is a very, very famous poet. He's even to this day, I think he is often cited. Many of the lines from his poetry are actually used today in Scottish culture. And when we talk about communication, we still refer to him. So he's very, very well known. You can actually, if you visit Scotland, you can go and visit his house. It's very easy to access his poetry and writing online. It's very easy to do. And if we are approaching the end of the year, and I think I have heard this in Malaysia, certainly very common in other countries, but when you get to the end of the year, the very last day of the year in Scotland is known as Hogmanay. So we do not call it New Year's Eve, we call it Hogmanay. And when you move to the new year at midnight into 2021, very traditional to sing Auld Lang Syne, which I think you might know. I will not torture you by singing. But if you recognise this song, Auld Lang Syne, it was Robert Burns. We sometimes refer to him as Robbie Burns, the Scottish version. He wrote the words to Auld Lang Syne, and this is used, you will also know, internationally. So very, very famous poet. So let's, instead of going clockwise, Nadia, if we could go to bottom left. And James Watt, well done, yes, excellent. Okay, so now I wonder if you can see the connection between my university and James Watt. So James Watt credited for inventing, but certainly improving the operation of the steam engine and really leading us into the Industrial Revolution and being able to capture some of the energy and very, very influential in terms of development for that. So the Watt in Heriot-Watt is indeed named after James Watt. So that's our connection, and I think we are very proud of that, actually, to be able to make that connection. So moving left to right on the bottom row, much more later dates now, not such an old photograph. Yes, Hafiz, yeah, absolutely. James Bond and Indiana Jones's father. Did anybody know his real name? Definitely famous for James Bond and indeed the late Sean Connery. Yes, he did recently pass away. So he's from Edinburgh. He grew up in Edinburgh. He did not live in Edinburgh nearer the date of his death. He moved overseas, but very, very strong connection to Edinburgh. He has always kept his Scottish roots, and he is, of course, we should refer to the fact that he is wearing a kilt. I think you know, we don't wear kilt every day, but we do wear a kilt. Men do wear kilts on special occasions. So when we have a wedding, a party, celebration, most gentlemen will wear a kilt. So it's very, very special, slightly formal dress, and there are very different variations on how to wear the kilt. But yeah, and lots of different tartans. You probably know as well that the tartan of the kilt refers to your family connection. So if you are Scottish, you normally can trace your name back to your clan. From a couple of centuries ago, you can make the connection and you're able to identify the tartan. Most families have multiple because, of course, we have a complex family tree, but you can normally identify a family tartan. And tartans have two variants. They have the formal tartan, and then they have the hunting tartan. So they always have two variants. And again, if you visit, many shops in Edinburgh will help you understand the background of the tartans. And if you have a connection, you can find one. Okay, so I'm conscious of time. So moving on from Sean Connery, moving on right, Nadia, yeah, thank you. So I don't know if you will know this is John Logie Baird. Any guesses on what he is credited with? Not sure. He did indeed, yes, not sure as in, but yes, he did. He is credited with inventing TV, black and white and colour, actually both, yes, so credited with inventing the television. So yes, again, it was really difficult to try and pick just a short selection of names of famous people. I think we are as Scottish people very innovative. There is a long list. We could spend 3 hours talking about inventions and famous people and famous Scottish influences. You only know Sir Alex Ferguson. I did not mention football. But yes, you are correct. He is indeed Scottish and very, very famous as well. Yeah. So let's before we move on then to the more professional things. Last photo, the one on the right. I think you will all recognise. I hope you will recognise the Sultan of Selangor, who has an honorary degree from Heriot-Watt. We did practice this slightly, but I'm wondering if somebody can help me with his name, because despite all the time I spent in Malaysia, I still struggle with pronunciation of his name. So Ms. Nadia, maybe you can advise me on how best to pronounce his name.
Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah Al-Hajj. I cannot memorize his name, honestly. I have to read it out. Like, I can't. So it's Almarhum Sultan Salahuddin Abdul Aziz Shah Al-Hajj. Wow, right. That's a long name. Well done.
Yes. So it was a lovely day actually. He came for graduation. You can see our chief executive and provost, Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi here. He's also wearing his kilt. He visited Edinburgh very early actually in my time in Malaysia, and I took him to a very old traditional shop to be fitted with. You do not buy off the shelf. You always have fitted a kilt. So we took him to get this kilt, and then it was made and it was delivered by one of our colleagues to Malaysia. So this kilt is now with him in Malaysia, and he likes to wear it. So he's not from Pakistan. He is actually from Iraq, but nonetheless, he really enjoys wearing this kilt. He loves wearing the Scottish kilt, and it's very smart actually. So he will always wear this at graduation time. So yeah, this was a very special day, and as I say, nice connection between Scotland, the UK, and Malaysia when we gave this honorary degree to our Sultan. Very, very good day. Okay, so that's slightly informal part, but hopefully you can get a sense of the culture. So let's move to communication then. We've mentioned it a few times. So next slide. Okay, so I think the key thing here is, and I think you will all be aware of this, we are discussing here principles that apply both online and in person. If COVID had not hit, maybe we would be having this discussion in person, but communication is really important in person and definitely online as well. So hopefully you will get something from this. As I say, I'm not an expert in communication. I only have my experience of moving between the UK and working in Malaysia, but it was interesting, it was fun, and I learned lots as well about Malaysian communication as well as UK communication. I think the key thing is speed. We are, as Scottish and many other nations as well, we tend to speak quite quickly. I know I speak quite quickly. I try not to, but I know I do. I think many Malaysians also speak quite quickly. So I think when we are communicating, especially in a workplace, we do have to try to slow down. This is me slowing down. I probably still sound fast. So, so you do want to try and moderate the speed that you communicate at. My experience, so let me share with you actually something on language first of all. I don't want to be unfair, but I think it's okay to say that most people in the UK do not speak multiple languages. We are exposed in school to other languages. We do learn a bit. We tend to learn 1-2 European languages a bit. But if most people are like me, then we lose that quite quickly. I can still speak some French and some German, but not so much. But I certainly, the extent of my language does not go very far beyond this, and I find it quite difficult. So we tend to rely very, very heavily, of course, on English. And certainly when I came to Malaysia in 2017, doing my job and communicating was made much easier because everything mainly was done in English. I get some emails, even now I get some emails in Malay, but I manage. I did learn a bit. I did learn a very small bit. So being able to communicate in English is definitely a benefit. But one thing that really took me by surprise actually in Malaysia was the multiple range of languages used. And not just across different cultures and communities, but even within individual people. So I'm in my office, my old office in Putrajaya is very close to the pantry. And when people would be making coffee, I was not listening deliberately, but you can overhear conversations. And I could hear my colleagues seamlessly switching English, Malay, Chinese, Hokkien, all sorts of things. And I'm thinking, I'm so confused. What I don't understand what language this is. This a special language? So it took me a long time to understand the versatility and the flexibility that you have in Malaysia to move between languages. And I think the key thing in being able to communicate and understand, I guess 2 things. One is definitely speed. I found that I could definitely understand all of my colleagues in Malaysia if we both slowed down. And so we work on clarity, of course, but we both slow down. And I think the other thing as well is the times that I did not understand always happened when more than one person was speaking. So in meetings, for example, if some of my Malaysian colleagues are speaking, and I'm trying to choose, it's just impossible to manage. So I think there's something around speed and being able to communicate at a pace that allows you to be able to be clear and be heard. Certainly when we had some social events, when you might be sitting at a dinner table and there are 4 or 5 or 6 people, my goodness, I have no chance, even although you were speaking English. I do also remember that at least one, if not more, of my Malaysian colleagues told me that we don't have a Malaysian accent. We don't have an accent in Malaysia, but you do. I think everybody has an accent. Everybody has an accent. And when you combine those accents, it can become really difficult. I used to test my colleagues on campus when we had visitors from the UK. When they came to visit, I would always test my colleagues and say, can you identify the UK accent? Because in the UK we have a very, very wide range of accents. Even a Scottish accent, we have so many variations. The accent will change actually within a very small range, sometimes 10, 15 kilometres. Certainly 20 to 30 kilometres, you will have a different accent. So if you can hear, you can identify where the person comes from. But yeah, I used to test my colleagues on campus and say, where is this person from? I only expected them to tell me Scotland, England, Wales, or Ireland. Very, very different accents. But yes, we all have accents. And I think you become attuned to an accent if you were working with somebody over longer term. I certainly became attuned to Malaysia accent and some expressions as well. Bully, I always say bully, even now. So I think you become attuned to the accent and it does become easier. But I think the key thing there is definitely speed. So I think if everybody slows down, it's much easier to do. So let me touch upon international etiquette and networks as well, but let's move on one slide if we can. Okay, so speed we've mentioned. Reading signals, I think, now this is easier in person, more difficult online. So you're always looking for signals when you're having a conversation. You need to make sure that the person is understanding what you are saying to them. And you also need to read their body language and make sure that you are understanding what they are trying to tell you. You will all have been in situations, I certainly have, where you have gone and had a meeting with somebody and you've come away and you've thought, I'm not sure I understood. And actually, and we have it on the slide here, the key thing is don't be afraid to ask. I think in one-to-one communication, that's a bit easier. In group communication, a bit more difficult, but really genuinely don't be afraid to ask. I think reflecting on my 3 and a bit years in Malaysia, I wish I had asked more in the beginning. I sometimes thought, okay, maybe I think it's just me that's not understanding and maybe this is cultural, but actually it's okay. I think it's okay to ask somebody and to say, I'm not clear, can you reiterate, or can you tell me the key message, or can you summarize? That's absolutely fine. Even if after then you were not entirely sure, then it's okay, I think, to seek written clarification. So the key thing here is make sure that you get the message from the communication that you think you need and that you think the other person or the other people are trying to convey to you. So slow down. If I give you an example of why it's okay to ask, many years ago actually, when I was initially based in Edinburgh, I had a colleague who, his nationality, he came from Southeast Asia, not Malaysian, but he came into my office and we had a very quick meeting. We were talking about some student assignment, and he spotted on my desk a combined dictionary and thesaurus. And it was a big, this is before I always went to Google, but it was a big thesaurus and it sat on my desk. And he said to me, my goodness, you have a dictionary and a thesaurus. Why do you need this? Because you are a native English speaker. And I said to him, my goodness, yes, I am native English speaker, but my English is not perfect. My spelling is not perfect, and sometimes I struggle to find the right words, and I need to use my thesaurus. So even although you are communicating with people whose native language is English, we are not perfect in our delivery of that communication as well. So sometimes the message might not be clear. So don't be afraid to ask. Ask for the message to be repeated, to be clarified. And as I say, if you're really struggling, ask for some written clarification. But we are all in a situation where we are trying to understand, we are trying to grasp the message. So slow down, be clear, but always ask for clarification. Okay, next slide. So I share with you an example of when this has gone slightly wrong. I do have permission to share with you. This is a real example, despite the cartoon. You heard me say earlier that we were building the campus in 2011, 2012. And when the building was built and we began to get out the rooms and allocate the teaching spaces and the library and the meeting rooms, one of my colleagues from Scotland, he was Scottish, went to Malaysia and he was based in Putrajaya. And his job was to help establish the campus and to get the spaces up and running. And he shared with campus services that he wanted what they heard, a nothing room. And my colleagues, multiple, they were in the meeting and they were Malaysian and they were scratching their head and they said, he wants a nothing room? Okay, can you tell me again? He said, yeah, I want a nothing room. And they heard this again and again and again, and they did not question. They asked one time, but then they did not question why he wanted a nothing room. So they found a space and they allocated the space and they were adding the signage, the signs to the front of the doors. And they were just about to get the signage printed. And they had printed the sign as you see on the slide here. So it said nothing room. And just before these signs went to the manufacturer to be made, this one colleague who is still there and who I know and she's wonderful, she said, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm so frustrated. Why does he want a room? There's an empty space, it has nothing in, it has no function, there's nothing on it, and it just says nothing room, and my space is so valuable. Why do we need nothing room? So she went to a senior colleague and she said, I'm so frustrated. I don't understand why this Scottish person wants a nothing room. And my colleague said, no, he should not want a nothing room. There is something wrong. And of course, they managed to resolve. And Ms. Nadia, if you can forward the slide, what he was actually looking for was a nursing room. And that tiny, tiny, tiny difference in accent. He was saying, I want a nursing room. And my colleague heard, I want a nothing room. And because nursing room might not be common terminology, that had not been clarified. And so we almost on the Malaysia campus, we almost had a nothing room. Fortunately, we do not. We have a nursing room. So it's a tiny and slightly silly, but hopefully an example that allows you to see that we should clarify. It's absolutely fine. And now, of course, that colleague whose job it was to make the sign, and my Scottish colleague who has now come back to the UK, they would have laughed about this, and they were very friendly and good colleagues. And even now we laugh about this breakdown in communication. But I think the key message is just ask, just confirm. It's absolutely fine. Even if you think you are dealing with somebody senior, they have a different language, they clearly know what they are talking about. They did not want a nothing room, they wanted a nothing room. Okay, next slide. International etiquette, I mean, I guess you will be communicating with others anyhow, but and I'm very conscious of this. We need to be aware of timescales. From the UK to Malaysia, we have currently an 8-hour time difference. We change clocks in the UK, so in the summertime, this is a 7-hour difference. It's still a long time. So we recognise that when we communicate internationally, not just between UK and Malaysia, we have big time differences. I will not lie to you. When I was in Malaysia and I had many meetings, 6, 7, 8 p.m., it's a long day. I always work early in the morning, so I start maybe 7, 8. But when you were in your 12th, 13th, 14th hour of being at your desk and having meetings, and especially online, it's really difficult. And on occasion, I would say to a colleague, gosh, can you just give me 5 minutes before we start the meeting? I just want to stretch my legs, get some fresh air, grab a tea or coffee. It's a long day, so be conscious of the fact that others are working in different time zones and be aware of this. Madam Susanna mentioned my role as CIBSE president, and when I was president, I was chairing a board that had people, trustees spanning Hong Kong and Malaysia, and then moving west back to the UK and Europe and all the way to New York. So we had, in many cases, a 12-hour time difference between trustees who were joining us on the board, and that's really difficult. So choose your meeting time carefully and be aware that others are working in a different time zone. Okay, next slide. Sorry, one again, Nadia, thank you. Okay, so just extending international etiquette. There's a series of photos here. I will let you interpret what you will from them, but they refer to things that are culturally different, and I think this is just about understanding cultures. When I came to Malaysia 2017, it was a bit of a leap of faith. I had spent 2 days in KL prior to taking up my job. So I had only 2 days experience of Malaysia. I will be honest with you, that 2 days was enough to tell me that I was really intrigued by Malaysian culture, and I wanted to work there and be based there full time. So absolutely no regrets. But that cultural exposure and meeting so many new colleagues really has been the highlight of my 3 years working for Heriot Watt Malaysia. Just understanding, and you will know this, but understanding the cultural differences in Malaysia, absolutely fascinating. Even though I don't understand everything, I know I don't understand everything, but I still enjoyed learning about those different cultures. And I think being a UK university, connecting with UK communities, but mainly connecting with Malaysian communities, was such an enlightening experience for me, and I do feel as if I have gained so much from that. And I know even now my colleagues in the UK will contact me and they say, you know, Malaysia, can you help us understand how to something? So being aware of the cultural differences is really important. Even down to, you guys will know, you have lots of public holidays, you celebrate a lot, which is wonderful. But in the UK, we tend to have all of our holidays together. So they are approaching with the end of the year and with the Christmas celebration. And so we don't have these days dotted throughout. So I keep saying to my colleagues, remember, next week is a public holiday in Malaysia because it is, and there is a name the celebration. So being aware of local customs, local cultures, differences in international etiquette. So I will tell you now, I'm looking at the top right photograph. I am a hand shaker. My hand goes automatically out when I meet somebody. And that's something that I have just developed over many years. But when I came to Malaysia, I managed to not necessarily do this all of the time, because I do realise that there are cultural differences. I'm also travelling to Dubai. You will understand as well that there are cultural differences. So just having that cultural awareness and you know, making sure my hand is by my side before I automatically extend, and potentially making somebody uncomfortable, which I don't want to do. There are cultural differences that you have to recognise. So I think just being aware of those. My advice would be, before you are communicating internationally, whether it be online or in person, just do a bit of homework on the culture. Speak to friends, speak to colleagues, understand some of the background and the cultural differences. I always do try and just learn just a tiny bit of the language, so that I can say hello and thank you and goodbye in the local language, which I think is it's not fantastic, but it's recognised as effort, that you are willing to make an effort to understand the culture. So I think just being aware of that international etiquette is quite important. Okay, next slide. Sorry, yeah, okay. So here again we have a sample. This is I'm going to ask you to talk to me in the chat again. Tell me if you recognise any of these idiomatic expressions. So idiomatic expressions are ones that are local to certain groups of people. I honestly did not realise how many idiomatic expressions we use in the UK until I went to Malaysia. And even now, we sit in meetings and I can see my Malaysian colleagues looking at one another and thinking, I have no idea what that means. Where did this expression come from? And they have, and I think this is really important actually, this looks like a trivial point, but even in very professional meetings in international communications, certainly from the UK, we use these idiomatic expressions every single day, all the time. We don't necessarily use these ones, these are just examples, but we use these types of expressions in everyday communication. And genuinely, it was not until being in Malaysia that I thought, my goodness, yes, you are correct, yes, steal someone's thunder. My goodness, we use so many of these. And one of my colleagues, and she will not mind me saying this, one of my colleagues, every time she heard a new expression, she would write it in the book. Then she would WhatsApp me, and she would speak to me afterwards and say, my goodness, what does this mean? So I'll run through them quickly, because these, you don't need to know these ones, they are just examples. But kicking something into the long grass means that we will talk about it later. Let's not discuss today, too much to do, too short time. The whole kit and caboodle means everything. So if I want to discuss in a meeting with you, let's just give an example, an education example. Let's talk about student material, assessment, online learning. That's the whole kit. And I mean, it's too much. The whole kit and caboodle is too much to cover in one meeting. So we break it down into pieces. If we say something is the best thing since sliced bread, I genuinely don't know where this comes from, but it means it is the best thing ever. I'm sure they have some meaning, but I don't know where it comes from. If we talk until the cows come home, this means that we talk for such a long time until the end of the day. It's such a long meeting. So you might be in a meeting where somebody says, gosh, we talked about student assessment till the cows came home. That means that it went on and on and on and on. I think cross that bridge when we come to it, fairly self-explanatory. So let's not deal with it now, we deal with it later. Someone put in the chat, yes, absolutely right. Stealing somebody's thunder is to not necessarily take credit, but let's say that I have some big news to tell you. Let's say I can tell you, I won an award. I have not, but let's say I won an award today, and I want to tell you at the end of this meeting that I won an award. And then Ms. Nadia says, class, can I just tell you before Lynn says anything else, she won an award today. She stole my thunder. So this is what we mean by, so not necessarily taking credit, but stealing the big news from somebody else. Yes, stealing the spotlight. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Shahira. Yeah, well done. Not over till the fat lady sings. These are not Scottish, by the way, but they are used very commonly in UK language. So not over till the fat lady sings means, gosh, if you know what this means, I maybe need your help. It means that it's not over till it's over. So if we are discussing something that we cannot agree on, it's not over until we actually reach a final decision. So what are they? 7 examples here. There are 700 examples of these that we could share. obviously that's not the best way to use time this afternoon, but genuinely in international communication, these expressions work their way into language. Now, let me take you back a few slides. If you don't know, just ask. Because we are so, and again, I did not realize, but we are so in the habit of using these expressions that we don't even notice that we are doing it. Genuinely, we don't even notice. And it's only when pointed out to me by colleagues in Malaysia that I realize how much we do this. So as I say, ask questions, it's absolutely fine. Okay, next slide, we're almost finished. Network and connections we mentioned. I think that this is not so much about international communication itself, but really about the benefits of communicating well internationally. I have a colleague, and I would encourage you to go and look for her online and look at some of her work. My colleague is Professor Heather McGregor, and she talks about social capital. So about having those connections where you share the same values, you share the same aspirations, you can work with people, you connect with people, and you are able to do much more together than you can individually. And she speaks far more eloquently than I do on social capital. She's an excellent colleague, an excellent academic, very, very well known in her field, and I would encourage you to go and listen to her. She's visited Malaysia very many times, loves it, and is well connected in Malaysia as well. The benefits that networking and connections can bring and building that social capital are really, really important. And I just wanted to highlight this to you because it really underlines the importance of international communication and how it's worth investing some effort beforehand, but also at the time as well, investing some effort to make sure that you get this right. Professor Heather McGregor, yes, absolutely correct. She's as I say, Heather speaks very well on this. She speaks much better than I do, but I think it highlights very, very clearly why it's worth investing some time in this and making sure that you do get that communication spot on, and building those networks. So it's slightly broader than communication just itself, but yes, please do take some time to build your network, build your connections, and remember as well that within those networks you will communicate with people differently, and people will have different expectations of that communication and that network, but every single one of them is valuable. So some tend to be more social and informal, and some very, very professional, but every single one of them becomes your network. And some advice from Heather, again, please refer to her. I'm not the expert, but Heather will tell you to really genuinely, in every single week, take some time, mark some time, clearly identified, and very purposeful, make some time to build your connection. So we're all busy, we all have lots to do, but very deliberately take some time and build your social capital. Really, really important. We never know when we will need that, and we get such benefit, and it comes in on many different levels from having extended networks and extended connections. So all underpinned by good communication. So please do make some time to do that. Next slide. Okay, so wrapping up then, final words. Now, Ms. Nadia asked me to, if we have time, to talk about accents. But before we get to a slightly more informal part, just some reflections. I think I've said it several times. Have a think about speed. I'm probably still speaking very quickly, but do try to slow down. Don't be afraid to ask. And then this very final point that we've made, make some time to build your international network. It will pay so many dividends, personally and professionally. These would be my top tips. My top 3 tips is slow down in speaking, seek clarification, and build your network. Okay, so if you don't take anything else away, please take these 3 things away from the session today. Okay, so next slide, I think, and we move to something more informal. Yes, okay. So Ms. Nadia asked me to talk about accent. I don't think my accent is very strong Scottish. I don't think, but I have lots of colleagues who have much stronger accent, and also in the UK as well. What I've shown you at the top of this slide are 2 words that we use commonly, slightly informal, but it's very funny because I do hear my Malaysian colleagues on campus use these 2 words at the top of the list, which I think is just wonderful. My colleagues in Malaysia do as well, actually. So the first one is I. Does anybody know what this means? I'll wait on the chat. Very easy, very easy. One word. You're doing a bit of online translation here. Yes, absolutely. Yes, it does. Yes, 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 yes to all. Yes. So it means I. Sorry, I means yes, it does. So in a conversation, not quite so professional, slightly more informal, but even my colleagues now are using this. So I is a Scottish word, and it just means yes. So Ms. Nadia might say to me, can you join us at 4:30? And I would say, I can, only when I'm speaking Scottish, though not very professional. The next word is much more commonly adopted, though. It is a Scottish word, so WEE, just we. So anybody know what this means? Now this one is, I'll speak while you're chatting. Yes, it is little, yes. So it means small or little. Now this one is very, very widely adopted. This word has worked its way into the whole of the communication in the UK. I now hear colleagues, in fact, even on TV and movies, it's used in America. And also used in Australia. So it's very commonly used. And if you go to Heriot Watt Malaysia campus, it's now very, very commonly used. So we just means little. So if I'm, let me give you an example. It means small. So if I'm talking slightly too fast, somebody might say to me, you are talking a wee bit too fast. It's a very Scottish thing, but it has now worked its way into the broader linguistics or lexicon of international communication. So very, very widely adopted. One of the times that you see it most commonly in the UK, not just Scotland, is actually on the weather forecast. So every evening we watch the forecast because we want to see if it will rain or snow or be windy or sunny tomorrow. And we are obsessed with the weather. And the forecaster will say, well, you can expect a wee bit rain tomorrow, or you can expect a wee bit snow, or it will be a wee bit windy. So very, very commonly used on very formal settings, much more professional and much more acceptable to use this word. And then some sayings, the bottom four, they're very, very informal. We don't say these day to day. And I think actually some of them might come from Robert Burns that we mentioned earlier, but I'm not sure. So just to tell you what they mean, hasty back is sometimes written inside a greeting card. And it means please come back soon. So you might be going on to a new country or a new job, and it just means don't be a stranger. Hopefully we will see you soon again. So hasty back means come back quickly. The second one, what's for Yale no go by ye, that really means that what will come to pass will pass. So if you work hard, you will get your reward. If there's something out there for you, then it will definitely come to you in good time, and you just have to be patient. The next one, we're all Jock Tamsin Spearns. This just means everybody is created equal. So it means every one of us comes from somebody's family. We are somebody's child. Bairn is a child. And it just means that we are created equal. So it's a kind of nice one to say nobody is any better than anybody else. And then the last one, sometimes you see in greeting cards and calendars and things as well, lang me your lum reek. Now this is, a lum is a chimney. And because we're in the UK and it's cold, we, not so much now because we have new central heating systems, but we used to have chimneys and open fires. Certainly when I was a child, we always had an open fire for heating. And the chimney would be smoking, and that means that somebody's home. And lang is just long, so long may your chimney smoke, and that just really means I hope you have a long and happy life. So it's a nice greeting to somebody sometimes in a card to say lang may your lum reek. It means I hope you're well and healthy for a long time, and these COVID times is a nice thing to say to people, I think. Okay, so I think final slide, and I'm going to ask you guys to say something now if you don't mind switching on your mic. Okay, so this really is the last slide. I hope you have been able to understand my accent, but now if you want to try, we tend to, and I actually, again, I had to learn from my Malaysian colleagues, things that we do to create the Scottish accent, we sometimes lose the T, the lost T. So although I'm saying to you Scottish, when I'm speaking to my friends and sometimes my colleagues, we drop the T, and many of Scottish colleagues, and if you meet somebody Scottish, they will recognise this. So we sometimes are not sharp on the T, we just say Scottish. And so the T is lost, it disappears in the word somewhere, so we lose the T. We also round the R. Let me give you the famous example is murder. So I'm saying it very quickly, but there is a perception that we round the R, so it would be murder. So you roll the R, but we don't roll it too much, just very, very short. So, but I think also in Malaysian language, you tend to round your R's as well. So very, very common to Malaysia. I sometimes becomes A. So if I say, I went to the supermarket today, I would say, went to the supermarket. So we lose the sharpness on this, a very lazy way of speaking. And then we also sometimes convert single syllable words into double syllable words. So for example, I think I might have said it once already actually, I find it incredibly difficult to say the word, and maybe somebody can put this in the chat, girl, G-I-R-L, as opposed to boy. I find it really difficult to say that with one syllable. Now I know it's a one syllable word, but I find it really difficult. So in Scottish accent, we would double that. So I cannot say, I cannot say it. It should be one syllable, but I can only say girl, which sounds like two syllables. So examples include girl, world, worm. And you can now hear my Scottish accent very clear because I know that's not how you say those words. So those single syllable words turn into double syllable words. So I've given you a sample sentence, and if you are brave enough, I would love to hear you say this sentence. I'm proud to be Scottish, but I love to connect with colleagues and students around the world. So if you're brave enough, please unmute your mic, and if you want to have a try, you can. But if you don't, it's fine. You don't. It's absolutely fine. But it would give you practice to especially the word world, because you have to turn it into two syllables. If you want to, you can just try girl. Much easier than the sentence. Anybody brave enough to unmute their mic and give me a Scottish girl? I cannot see the participant list, so I don't know if anybody's unmuting. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Ms. Nadia on the spot because I know she has been in the UK. Yes, yeah.
No, my God. Susanna can try also, and Rosia is here as well. So yeah, okay, let me try. Let me just give it a try.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
I'm proud. I have to read this sentence, right?
Or you can just say girl or
No.
world or
Get
yeah. That was good.
Gettle. Hang on.
Yes, very good.
Gettle.
Excellent.
I don't know what I'm saying. Kettle waddle.
That's very, very good. So yeah, perfect. So if you say girls and boys, girls has two syllables. Yeah, absolutely.
Girls.
Right, yeah. So
yeah.
it's impossible for me to say with one syllable because I have a Scottish accent. Even if I practice, I cannot do. So,
right.
But very good. Madam Susanna, you want to try saying girl?
Yes, let's have her. Yes.
Me? Gather.
Very close. Very close.
Again, girdle.
Girdle. Yeah, girdle. Yeah, much better.
Girdle.
Yeah, good.
Girdle.
Good. Well done. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. We can give you Scottish passport anytime. Well done. Well done. Okay. And any other volunteers? No. Okay. Good. Okay. In that case, then, thank you. Let me check the time. Yes, so we're almost exactly 45 minutes. So thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful to speak with you this afternoon, and thank you for the chat. Thank you everybody for engaging. I'm hoping you got something from it. As I say, I'm not any expert at all on communication. You're just listening to my experience of working in both countries. So thank you for having me and my accent. And I will now hand it back to Madam Susanna.
Actually, Prof. Lin, so we thank you for your enlightening speech and your sharing about Heriot Ward, the famous people, the famous people of from Scotland, and all your experience. And just now you mentioned about the top tips in communications, about speed. What's another one? Be brave to ask and value your international network, isn't it? So, and yes, we see through your network with Nadia, OIA and your ITM, we made this session a reality, and we shall remember that. And so thank you for making the time beside your busy schedule. And we do hope to have you again next semester, if you don't mind, for another class, okay? And yep, And I think I like to request for the students to switch on your camera. Maybe this is the last thing that we usually do, where we take photo, take the group photo for memory sake. Yeah, please. And Nadia, are you going to take the photo?
Yes, I will do that. Right, come on, students.
Yes, please do.
Let's have like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, ready? One. Azim, Anis.
Yes,
right, let's have
Farah.
everyone. Okay,
Start,
ready?
please.
Oh, in the car. Adila. Okay. Right, 1, 2. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. Let me just see if there's anyone I missed on the next page. One more time. All right,
Yes,
1, 2,
Hafiz,
3,
Raihan.
and one more. 1, 2, 3. Give it your biggest smile, okay, for Professor Lin. Right, 1, 2, 3. Yes, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you very
And I
much.
think there's a form. There's a form for them to fill up, yeah, for the e-certificate, Puan Susanna.
Yes.
Yes,
I
okay.
have shared the link in our
Yes.
Telegram, and Madam Roncia is going to share with her class as well.
Perfect. Yay.
Okay.
Okay.
So
you for
everyone is
being
thanking
with
you.
us.
Everyone is. If you read the chat box, everyone. Yes.
I'm
yes.
just looking. Thank you very much. It's very kind. It's very kind. I do hope to get back to Malaysia very soon. I have a plan, but of course we have to wait on COVID allowing this. But yeah, thank you very much. It's been lovely to speak to you guys today. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's really an honor. Thank you. All right. So I have to
You're
end the
welcome.
meeting
Thank you.
now. Bye, everyone.
Okay,
Take care.
thank you very much. Thank
Puan
you.
Susanna. Right,
Thank you.
bye.